All right, we're going to do two integrals. Each has a different symmetry, even odd symmetry, that allows us to do the integral a little bit easier. For this first integral, the first thing we want to do is what we would normally do, and that is take these two terms over one common denominator and write it as two separate terms. So there we go. X to the fourth over x is x cubed. X squared over x is x. This is a simplified integrand now that we're working with, and we notice that there are only odd powers of x in there. This is an odd function. Odd means it's, we know the symmetry for odd, and because also this is an integral from -1 to 1, we know that this integrates to 0. There's just as much area above the x-axis as there is below, and that's what odd symmetry means. There's just as much above as there is below the x-axis. So the fact that we integrate from -1 to 1 and that this is odd allows us to do this without any work. It's just 0. Now here, cosine, if you think about the plot of cosine, cosine goes like this. It's an even function. It's symmetric across the y-axis. So this is an even function, which means we can just do the integral from 0 to pi and multiply it by 2. Right? There's just as much area to on the left side of the y-axis as the right side, so we just do half of it and multiply by 2. This is not as easy as just saying the integral is 0 when we had the odd function, but it's usually nice not to have to deal with a negative endpoint of integration. We can get away with a little bit of less work in our calculations here, so that's good news still. Now, the antiderivative of cosine is sine, because the derivative of sine is cosine. So sine from 0 to pi, we have 2 times the sine of pi minus the sine of 0. The sine of pi and the sine of 0 are both 0. So this ended up being 0 anyway. That was coincidental. That's not always the case for an even function that we integrate from negative a to a. But in this case, it turned out to be 0. So we used symmetry, even odd symmetry, in each of these integrals and got answers with less work.